Hi, this is Jose Morales. I'm in a 2018 Thor Windsport 34J. It's the bunkhouse unit. I'm going to make a video on how to properly set up the unit and take it down for traveling to a campsite and from a campsite. I'm going to make the video in my yard. I'm going to be able to simulate most of the actions you need here. Once you're at the campsite, you can fill in the blanks. So we backed into the campsite location, or if it's a pull through, we pulled in, and we kind of made sure we aligned our connections to the campsite connection. So that'll be your electrical, your hose, and your sewage. The first thing we will need to do is go ahead and level the unit. In order to do that, you have to have the vehicle on. We'll have to turn the generator on so there's enough power to control the leveling system. And I always have everyone exit the vehicle, since you need to have no movement while the sensors are sensing the levelness of the vehicle. So I'm going to go ahead, turn on the vehicle, and the control for leveling is over here to my left. Vehicle has to be on. I know the generator needs to be on, but I'm going to kind of just walk through the steps, and it'll tell you the voltage is too low to run on the batteries, and at that point we'll go ahead and turn on the generator. So vehicle's on. It's also going to prompt you to make sure that the parking brakes are in place. Those are all the steps that you need to take caution of prior to the leveling process. So car's on. I'm going to hit the power here on the leveling module. I powered the unit, so now I'm going to go ahead and hit auto level. Now when I do that, it's going to say apply parking brake, and it wants me to hit enter to acknowledge. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and I'm going to go ahead and apply the parking brake. Now I'm going to hit auto level again, and I get the... Okay, so what it's telling me right now is my angle is too much in excess. My driveway's too steep. So what I'm going to do is maybe move forward a little, see if I can get a better leveling of the vehicle, and then from there continue on with the process. Okay, so I moved the vehicle a little further so I can get on a little more level playing field. So now I'm going to move on to the next step, which is to go ahead and hit the auto level. Essentially, every time there's an error, it's going to prompt you to do something else. The only other error I've noticed in the past is it says the power is not enough, at which point we turn on the generator. At this point, it actually looks like it's not going to need the generator, so it's running off the battery, and kind of just need to let it do its thing. Again, it's going to tell you no moving. So everyone's out of the vehicle. I'm in the driver's seat, letting the electronic leveling system do its thing. So usually takes probably two to 5 minutes, depending on how unlevel the ground is. So we're going to go ahead and just resume the video once the vehicle is already leveled out. Okay, so the unit has finished leveling. When it's done, it comes to a screen that says ready, jacks down. And at this point, we're all leveled out. So I'm going to go ahead, turn the vehicle off, and we'll move on to the next steps. Okay, so we leveled out the vehicle. My next goal is to go outside and connect all the plumbing, electric, water hoses. But now that I'm in the driver's seat, before I leave, I like to just go ahead and close up the window shades. That way I don't have to come back in here to do that. So in order to do that, we have the power button here on the dash. You hit the shade, it starts to come down. Then you have your two side curtains are just velcroed to the side. You could just unvelcro them and slide them forward. Okay, so now I'm just gonna pull this back. There's the velcro, releases the curtain, and we slide it forward. Make sure we get a good seal there so no light's coming through. You'll thank me in the morning. And we'll do the same thing on the passenger side. Okay, so now we're outside the vehicle. One thing I noticed, which they recommend you do not do this, is that if you look here, the tire is actually floating in the air. Again, we're not at the actual campsite. Most campsites, they kind of make sure the ground is more level than my driveway. you want the tire to be supported, but it still should be touching the ground so that you're not putting all the weight onto the pistons that are leveling the vehicle out. For this video, we're going to just proceed like this, but again, just out at the campsite, let's make sure the tires are still somewhat touching the ground. The leveling is meant to keep your inside comfortable, not so much to take the weight off of the tires. We want to come over to the driver's side of the vehicle so we can make the connections for your sewage, your electrical, your internet or cable, not internet, sorry, it's just your cable TV, your sewage. And so if you look from the back, the first storage compartment is where I keep all of my hoses, my clean hoses, my electric, and my cable line. Okay, so again, we're in the second bin over. This is where I keep all my hoses, all the clean hoses, my electrical lines. We'll kind of go through all the items in here. First thing I have here is a 4-way splitter for the water hose. This allows me to have a water hose for drinking water supplied to the unit. I have a hose for cleanup, and then I have a hose for the flushing out the water tanks. So this hose here is what I use for just using as a water hose for spraying down things around the campsite. We have the blue hose here. This is going to be for our actual supply water to the unit. These two are mosquito bug lamps if you want to set those up. Not really needed for setting up the unit. Here's my electric supply line. Here's our cable line if your campsite has some cable TV you want to connect to the unit. Here's our surge protector. This is you connect to the campsite electric. We want to make sure that you have both the right power and surge. Again, we're in my driveway, so I'm not going to really be able to show that, but you want the two top lights to be green, which means it's 100% safe. Here goes our water filter. What I like to do is connect directly to my 4-way splitter and then connect my blue hose to the other end, and then from there connect to the unit. I have a plastic cap here that has to come off so you can connect the hose to it. And then the last item that we have in here is going to be our supply line for the gas grill. And I forgot one more. We do have our water pressure regulator here, which goes on the unit prior to connecting the water hose to it. So that's all we have inside this box. Again, cable line for cable TV, hose for washing down the campsite, surge protector with the electric supply line, water filter with the water hose for the water to the unit, and then our gas line for the gas grill. First thing we're going to do is city water connection. Again, we briefly alluded to the water filter. You can have either the water filter here at the unit. I don't like doing that because you're putting a lot of weight on this connector. I'd rather have the weight on the campsite water spigot. So I will connect this to my 4-way that I showed you guys earlier. Pull the plastic cap off. We have our water hose here where this will connect here to the bottom of the filter. Okay, so now I've connected the hose and the filter to the supply line at the campsite. Here's the connection for the unit. I'm going to pull the cover off. I'm going to install the pressure regulator. Now I'm keeping this hose in my hand because this is the clean water, so I always want to make sure this is clean at all times. Don't want no sand or anything on it. Okay, so now this is all installed, nice and tight, so water doesn't leak out. Now we can go to the water supply, turn it on, and verify the connections. I always want to leave a little slack in the line because as soon as we're finished with all our connections, we're going to want to pull the slide out. It's going to come out about 3 feet or so, and you don't want to crimp or clamp any of your hoses or run into anything. Okay, so the next connection we're going to do is our 50 amp power supply, and then we also have the cable TV, so I'll connect both at the same time. Again, we alluded to earlier, here goes the surge protector. We'll connect that at the campsite power. Turn the breaker off before you start connecting anything. So with the breaker off, I plug this in, then I turn the breaker on, make sure my green lights are on, showing that the power is good. Then I go ahead and turn the breaker off once again. With the breaker off, take this end, plug it into my surge protector, and again we're at the supply breaker box at the campsite. Then I come back to the unit. You can see here they have some notches on the plug. You want to go into the unit properly, slide it in, and there's a clamp here, a ring, screw ring, which will tighten down into the unit. And now we have power. Go back to the breaker box, switch the breaker on, and at that point, if for any reason, if you have the generator running or you're running on batteries, you will now be running on your campsite power. Same time, take my coaxial cable for the cable TV, just screw it in here. And then I take the other end and go to my cable TV line at the campsite and screw it in on that end. Pretty self-explanatory. Just insert and screw in to tighten it down. Okay, so the remaining connections now we have to do is going to be our sewer line. Pull the bins out. We have here is your sewer hose support. Pretty much plastic settings. They all taper down so that you can support the line from the unit to your actual drain area, your drain pipe at the campsite. Put that aside, I don't need that now. I keep all of this dirty hose in a separate bin, never to be mixed with our clean water or our electric. Put on gloves to touch about anything having to do with the sewers. Alright, so at your sewer connection, this has some threads in it. Depending on the size of the pipe, you will put this in, turn it until it's nice and tight, and then you have the hose. I have 20 feet worth of hose, and they come in 10-foot section, very flexible. You can see this has the pins on it. This side would connect to the drain pipe like so, and then this side here will connect to the unit. I'm going to go ahead and pull that out. The only other hose I have here is a black hose. I will connect this to the 4-way water supply, and you only need it whenever we want to flush your black tank. So after you dump your black tank, we will screw the hose in this connection here, turn the water on, close the valve, let the tank fill up to about two-thirds, flush it, close it up. I like to flush twice just to make sure it's nice and clean. So I will go ahead and close it up again, allow it to fill up for another 2/3, turn the water off, flush it out, and at that point you should be fairly clean. Good thing about this glass, or this is actually plastic, but it's clear plastic. You can actually see the color of the water coming out, and that you'll be able to tell how clean your unit tank is. So this is your valve connection. You have your gray water coming in on the left, your black water coming in on the right. This piece here moves up and down. You have your through connection through the bottom of the compartment. You want to go ahead and loosen this up, and I move that to the side. Next thing I'll do is take this cover off, In this case, I already have clean tanks. I know there's no water coming out, but you do want to kind of be careful at a job site, campsite. Next thing I'll do is turn it so it's facing down. Then we're going to take the hose, slide it through, line up the pins, twist. It'll lock in place, and at this point we're fully connected. Now, I believe it's best to leave these valves closed. Once your tanks start to get filled up, come outside, pull the levers, and they will go ahead and flush out. What I believe is the smartest way to do it is always flush your black tank first. Once that's empty, go ahead, pull the gray water. Gray water is a little cleaner. It'll help wash out your hose. So I'll pull the gray. So to open the valve, you just got to pull it straight out, and the water will come out. Once that's done, you'll pull the gray. Whatever water is in there will come out, and then push it in when you're done. After I've dumped both tanks, as I alluded to earlier, I will take the hose, connect it to the sanitation cleaning port, and then run the water, fill up the black tank 2/3 of the way, pull the valve, dump it, close it again, fill up 2/3, pull the valve, dump it, and just turn the water off. At that point, you throughout your whole stay at the campsite, just keep dumping as you need. As you fill up, dump, and go through that same process as you need. So now, essentially with this all set, you can't leave the black hose connected to the sanitation port. There's not enough room here. I've tried several ways, and honestly, you don't want to have that running for any reason, so it's best to leave it disconnected. If you leave it running, there's a possibility you can fill up the tank, and if this valve's not open, the water will actually back up into the unit. So just as a safety precaution, I think they did it so that you cannot leave the hose connected, and I think it's a pretty smart feature. So now I will pretty much close up the door, and we're all set. You are connected. You have your clean water, you have your sewer, you have your power, and you have your cable TV. At this point, we can just go back into the unit. Now we're ready to push out the slide and move forward. I leave the gloves at all times in the compartment here, so like that, whenever you need them, they're here. And that's pretty much it. Now you're ready to keep on with the campsite. Okay, setup. So now that I've made all the connections outside, the water, the sewer, the electric, the cable, we can go ahead and start pushing out the slide. Here's your control panels right next to the lavatory door. You have the slide buttons, the first one on the left bottom. You have extend and retract. We're going to push up. As we push up, we see the slide sliding out. Is all the way forward, so you do not have it sliding, the slide touching the driver's seat. Okay, so now I've moved the driver's seat forward, and we can see the slide is going to be able to move freely. So I'm going to go back to the control board, and we'll go ahead and extend the slide further. You want to go ahead and just let it slide all the way out until it reaches its end. You'll see when the slide touches the side wall. Another way to put the slide out is with this remote control that we have with the unit. If you look at the menu here, go over to slide 1, hit that, and then you have the 2 arrows for getting the slide to come out. just hold that, and you can watch on the outside as the slide comes out. All your connections, you can monitor them, make sure they're not going to get pinched in any way, shape, or form, and that everything's clear so that you don't hit anything. Now, I like to just make sure everything I need from the lower compartments is already out. There you go. That's fully extended. All my lines and everything is still good. Everything's actually below the slide except for the water connection. So everything should be fairly safe. Okay, so now I'm in the unit. Next step I'm going to do is lower the bunk bed that's above the driver's seat. First thing we have to do is this actually rests on some pins. They are on both the passenger and driver side. When you're driving, what you want to do is lower it down so that the weight rests on those pins and on the actual motor. So now that we're at the campsite, I need to relieve the pressure of the bed on those pins before I can actually lower it down. If you look above the sofa, here's your control. You have the key, it's set to on, and then there's a switch that says raise and lower. So we're just going to hit raise. It'll go up for a quick second, and then now we have the pin that you have a ring, you pull it out, and here you go. You have one on both passenger and driver side. Now that I have those pins out, I can come back to the control and hit lower. One thing you want to pay attention to is your seats. You can rotate the seat, but you want to basically recline it so that the bed is in its down position. So I'm going to go ahead, the lever for rotating is going to be underneath the front seat. They're reclined as far as they go, so now we'll go ahead and lower the bed further. There you go. Seats down. We start a ladder up here, so you can take that off. And now someone can climb up. This has a 500-pound maximum capacity, so it's a two-person bed. I believe it's a full-size bed. That should be all you need to do for setting this bunk bed up. I'm going to go ahead and put the ladder out of the way so we can keep on discussing setting up some of the other items. Okay, so next I'm going to take the dinette table and show you how to convert that into a bed. Pretty much everything here is on Velcro, so you want to go ahead and lift these two seat cushions up. Then underneath the table is a lever. You want to go ahead, release that lever. This will slide down. At that point, you can take your cushions, lay them out. The cushion on the back will come down like so. And then you want the other cushion to come down, kind of fit in there. Now, you can fit probably two kids here. I would say one adult. But here goes, according to Thor, is a 10-person capacity, and they're counting on 2 people sleeping on this dinette bed. So 2 in the upper bed, bunk, 2 here, and we'll transition to some of the other sleeping arrangements. Okay, now we have the couch will convert into a 2-person sleeping arrangement as well. Go ahead and pull off the Velcro cushions. This is a pull out, so it'll come up. You have your stands, so set those up, step inside, those will come down, and then your top piece will fold over, and then you have two-person sleeping compartment here as well. So far, 2 in the bunk, 2 in the dinette, and 2 on the couch sleeper. Okay, so the next step is we're going to show you how to turn the generator on. You have 3 ways of turning the generator on. You have the control. We have this control panel here near the lavatory, and then we also have on the front dashboard. If you go ahead and hold start, you will hear the generator turn on, and you're good to go. You want to give it a few seconds to kick in, and then you'll hear the AC, your microwave, and those items start to kick in. I'm going to go ahead and just shut it down real quickly so we can show it turning on at the front dashboard. Generator start button is the middle button. What I like to do is hit the lower button to prime it. You'll see it start blinking when it's ready to go. Then I hit the top button, and that's actually going to turn it on. Now that it's on, the light stays solid, and again, we'll just wait a few seconds, and you'll hear the AC kick in, and you're running on generator. You only need to run on generator while you're traveling down the highway if you want to have your TVs and your AC running, or if you're at a campsite where there is no power connections, then you can go ahead and run on your generator. As you can hear, the AC just kicked on, microwave just turned on, and we now have power in the cab. Now we have the control panel in front of us. We have our generator on. We have our slide extended. These are 2 items we already talked about. Now I want to talk about some of the other features. If you're connected to the city water, you want to have your water pump off. We have the pressure regulator that we installed to maintain the proper pressure in the water lines, and your water pump is not going to be necessary. If you are traveling down the road or you're not connected to city water, at that point you want to turn your pump on. When your pump is on, you can see this red light turns on, letting you know your pump is on. Shut it off, light turns off. The next connection is your water heater. Your water heater works on both gas, LP gas, and also 110 volts. You can have both on. I prefer having one on or the other, and I only want them on when someone is going to be needing hot water. It's a 6-gallon tank. It heats up fairly quickly, so you don't really need to worry too much about how long the hot water takes to warm up. Next, you have a set of 5 buttons here, and you're going to have these lights here. These are your tanks and your battery. You have E for empty, 1/3, 2/3, and full. So if I touch LPG, that's going to be my propane tank. If you touch it, you can see that it reads full. Next, I'm going to look at my battery levels. If I touch that, it's going to read full. My freshwater tank, if I touch that, I'm about 2/3. My black tank is empty, and my gray water tank is empty. Now, I mentioned this when we were setting up the unit. I was mentioning that I don't like to dump the tanks unless they're about 2/3 to full, because you want to have enough volume in those tanks to actually flush out everything in there. So at the campsite, I keep the valves closed when we reach these levels here, and I'm just periodically testing and checking. Once I get to about 2/3, I know to go dump those tanks and flush it. Right below here, we have our AC and heat controls. There's 2 ACs on the unit, one for the forward cab and one for the rear bedroom. This one controls the forward cab. This temperature, you can set it to cool, fan, off, and heat. You have it on low, medium, high, or auto for the fan speed. And that's pretty much all you need to know about this control panel. Next, we'll move over to the stove. We have a propane tank stove. Propane, here's the cover, basically flips over and becomes your splash guard. We have 3 burners. What you want to do is go ahead, put it to light, and then your spark only turns in one direction. You turn it, and they turn on. There goes your 3 burners running. It also has an oven. The oven, on the other hand, you need to, I believe we have a lighter here. Using the lighter, we have a pilot. What you want to do is put the gas onto pilot, and then under here, you would have to reach to the back and hold the pilot gas while lighting up the pilot. Not cooking or anything, so I'm not going to go through that whole exercise, but that's how you turn on the oven. Again, put the gas on to pilot, reach to the back, have your flame running, and then press the gas to get the gas flowing. Wait a few seconds till the pilot warms up and turns on and can maintain its own self. Your microwave has a vent fan that exhausts out to the roof. You have high, low, and off. And then you have a regular microwave. Nothing special there. We have our sink. We got a sink cover. Come off. This extends if you need to wash anything. If you have water connection to the unit from the campsite, you do not need the water pump on. If you do not have a water connection and you're either traveling or camping at a dry camping or boondocking, then you want to have the water pump on. This will drain into the gray water tank, has all your sinks and showers. Your toilet goes into the black water tank. We have a couple of lights here over the kitchen, and then you have the light switch for the diner. All your shades pull easily and they'll come up, pull back down. Your shades over here slide up and down. Your windows also open on most of your windows. Just turn this knob here and it'll extend itself out. Go ahead and shut those down. We have a exhaust fan here as well. You can open up your cover and turn your fan on. I'm not even sure where that's. You can go ahead and turn the fan off, different speeds for venting. You might want to turn that on when you're cooking. And then you can hit off. I can close that while you're traveling. This is absolutely necessary. Just keep the fan off if you're not using it. You have your fire smoke alarm. And then this connection here is going to be for adjusting your antenna. You push up and rotate until you get proper signals on your TV. Just keep turning until you get what you want. If you connect it to cable, you can open up this compartment here. We'll cover this a little bit separately. These are your controls for this is a DVD player, and there's a HDMI switch or splitter switch, which will send your signals to whatever TV you want. But if you actually look further in the back of this compartment, there's this button here, this plate. When it's pushed in, you should see a green light. See the green light? That green light means we're using the antenna. It's an amplifier. If you want to connect to your cable line, you just hit that button, the green light is off, and now you're running with the signals from your cable connection. Okay, so now this is the master bedroom. You have a sliding door here that you control. Basically, you push down on the lock, allows the door to move. There's several locking points. So closed, push down, allows it to slide back in the open position. It'll lock, it doesn't move unless I push down. That's me out. got a king size bed here. We have a TV. We have our own. I should walk around this way. We have our own AC unit, very similar to the unit in the main cab. Controls AC back here. And we have the radio control system. This radio control can control these speakers here in the bedroom. And they also have some speakers on the exterior of the unit with the outdoor TV. You can basically connect the TV to those outdoor speakers, or you can play music, Bluetooth connection to your phone, and connect to that, and you'll be able to hear whatever music you want. There's an app that you can download from Jensen on your phone, which will also allow you to connect and control it remotely. You have your light switch here. You also have lights just by pressing the button on them. And then you have plenty of storage. Now we have bunk beds in the hallway. You lift up your mattress. There's a little storage compartment here where we store the ladder for that upper bunk bed. The only other thing to point out, this rear window, it's a normal shade. This is your emergency exit. You can lift this handle and get out if you need to. We have in here, we have a table that's mounted to the wall with the other end. We have a pipe. This pipe, you go into the front of the cab. This is in here. I'm going to go ahead and grab the table. And the table will just slide on top of that. And now you have a table for the front so that they can go ahead and eat. So you can fit several people eating at the same time. That's about it. I'm going to get into some of the electrical control systems next. I want to show you guys where the breakers are. We have our electrical breakers down here. You push on the lid, they'll come up, and here are all your breakers. And then to the left of that, we also have a fuse box. If there's a fuse that's blown, the lights will show, and then you have to just change that fuse out. Alright, so now we're going outside. One thing I want to point out is our power step. Every time you open the door, the step comes out. When you close the door, the step comes in. So I'm going to just demonstrate that quickly. Okay, so as you can see, the door opens and closes. The step comes in and out. At a campsite, that'll get old pretty quickly. You'll burn out the motor. So if you look at the controls over here, there's a switch here that says step. If you put that up, it will leave the step in whatever position it's in. So if it's fully out, you hit the step up, and then now if I close the door, the step will not come in and out. This also works with the screen door. See the step? Okay. We also have our light here for the steps. See the light down here turning on and off. We have our main light here for the cab. And then we have awning lights. If you look upside, the LED is on, and that's the awning light on and off. And that's your further switch. We also have automatic awning, so if I hit that open, the awning will extend itself automatically. I'm going to go ahead and stop it. If I hit the button down, the awning will go back in. We have your auto gen start and your battery monitoring. So we have an inverter running off of 2 batteries. Anytime you want to be quiet, you don't want the generator running at your campsite at night, you can turn your generator off and you'll run on battery. But there's a function that allows the generator to turn on once your battery level gets too low. There's a control in one of the compartments that will actually set some time parameters where it won't turn on if it's 2 o'clock in the morning or past 10. You can set it up to whatever settings you like. But again, at a campsite, you really should be connected to some power. So it's kind of a moot point. I've used the unit several times and have not had to use the generator, and I rarely run on batteries. Down below is your master power button. This light indicates there's power to it. If I turn this off, I'm shutting off power, but if I was connected to a campsite power, my light will still be on even though my main breaker is off, because this main breaker controls the power from within the unit, does not control it from the exterior. But this is a good place to check to make sure you have no power if you were going to test or touch anything electrical, and you don't want to get zapped. Generator is running right now, so there's power. If I turn the generator off and then I turn this breaker off, all your power will be completely off. I don't want to do that unless I absolutely have to, because then all my clocks will get shut off and I have to reset them. Okay, so now we're going to look at the outdoor kitchen. This is the large door at the rear of the unit. Open up, you'll see I have a little small refrigerator. You have a sink, water flows. Now underneath here there's a switch. When the sink gets full, you want to hit that switch, and it's a sump pump that'll pump out the water. There's a little light here. You have some storage here. Then you have a drawer with utensils. We keep our utensils in the grill. We also have the igniter button on the grill here. Store that all in the outdoor kitchen. I'm going to grab in here. This is where we store the Weber grill. See in this lower corner here, that's where we put the igniter button. It's gas. We have the gas line connection here. I'm going to show you on this side here. This is a quick connect. Pull this plug out, pull this back, and it slides into the grill, and you have gas. This is a 12-foot gas line cord. You move forward, you have a little compartment here. Lower this down. I want to zoom into this here. Here goes your quick connect piece here. Now you see there's a little lever here. This lever, it's a black lever. I don't know if it's showing up well. If that lever is up, gas is able to flow. You can't activate the quick connection. So in order to plug this in, you want to push the lever down. Now it's off. I can slide this back. Let it go ahead. Now I'm connected, and then I can turn the gas on. The other end is connected to the grill. Put it on the table, and you're ready to go. And it's disconnected. Do the same thing. Lower the valve. Push that back, and you're good to go. I leave it on the off position when I'm traveling. Then you can close that up. Right to the right of this. Open that up. Here's your gas tank, your propane tank. Here's for filling, and this is your control for opening up gas to the rest of the unit. The gas is used for your stove, it's used for your hot water tank, and it's used for your outdoor grill. While we're here, let's talk about this next compartment. This compartment here, we have our batteries. On the other side of the unit, you have your inverter. We don't really need to look at that, but you have 2 batteries here. You have a little D-ring. This was a cool addition they had here. There's a little hole. I'm going to run to the other side and grab the leash. I got a little tether line here for the dog. You can slide that through this little opening and clamp it to that. And now you're able to tether your dog to the campsite. And not worry about him or her running off. Here's your hydraulic pumps for your leveling unit. Nothing really to pay attention there. Just if there's an issue with your unit, this is where you want to start. And then the last thing we want to look at is going to be your TV. The TV is able to come out, slide, turn. You have these two speakers, one on the left, one on the right. These are controllable by that unit inside the master bedroom. And then we have an outlet here. I usually put a little table here, put my toaster, put anything we want to cook with right here, connect right here to the unit, right next to my sink, and then I put the grill just a little bit out of the way of the awnings, like that you're not capturing whatever smoke you're cooking. And that's pretty much run through the unit. I'm gonna show you guys how to break it down, and happy I'm going to start off with the couch. We're going to go ahead and convert it back over to a couch from the bed sleeper. First step, you want to push that piece up, come over to the left side. We want to start folding this over, put the two supports in, and then we're going to take our cushions and Velcro them back into place. And now it's back to being a couch. Okay, we're going to show you how to close up the dinette sleeper and turn it back into being a dinette table. I'm going to go ahead and pull the cushions, the back cushions up. Slide the bottom cushion up as well. This will slide up. We'll make sure it's fully up, and then turn the lever over to lock it in place. Now that it's locked in place, go ahead and slide the cushions onto their Velcro so it sticks nicely. On the back side here, you want to make sure your seat belts come through the slots in the cushion. Slide that back. I have my seat belts in place, and then we'll put the back stop. That's how you close that back. Okay, so the last sleeping arrangement that we need to close up is going to be the front bunk. I'm going to go ahead and come into my front storage compartment. I'm going to start hitting up. I've already put the ladder in place, so we can go ahead and close this up. Now, when you're getting ready to travel, you're going to want to put those pins back in. Once the pins are in, you lower the unit back down, and then that will take the weight off of the motor and keep it on those pins. I moved the seats a little bit out of the way so there's no rubbing, and the unit can keep going up freely. The bed is up. I'm going to take these pins right here, slide them into place. Here, clip in there. Do the same thing on the driver's side. Clipped in. So now I'm going to lower the unit to it rest. There you go. Now the weight is resting on those pins, and if you're driving down the highway, you don't have to worry about the bed motors failing and the bed coming down. Okay, so now we're going to show you how to take the campsite down and get ready for the road. You could close the slide on the interior. We showed that when we were setting up. We also have this control here for remotely controlling the slide. I'm outside. I'm not going to bother going into the control panel, so I'm going to go ahead. First step I want to do I already made sure inside nothing's in the way. I'm going to the slide, and now I'm gonna have it slide in. Once the sliding in is done, it's easier to go ahead and disconnect all of the lines, power lines, hoses, etc. Okay, so now we're fully closed. I'm going to go ahead and just for the sake of the video, go ahead and turn the generator off. You can do that with the remote. Start, stop the generator. You can also level the unit. So I'm going to just jump ahead, hit the leveler, and I'm going to go ahead to retract. It's not going to work, and the reason it's not going to work is because the engine's not on. So we're going to actually wait till we get an inside, turn the engine on, and then take the level off. We'll start out with your tanks. I'm going to get ready for the road, so I want to go ahead and make sure my black tank is empty and my gray tank is empty. Again, dump the black tank first. Once that's done, go ahead and dump the gray water. Once the gray water is done, close the gray water and black water tanks, and then connect your hose and flush the tank out twice. I'm not going to go through that process because, again, I'm not at an actual campsite. Once I'm done with flushing the system out, I have my little Tupperware here where I store all of my hoses. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect this unit here. I'm going to turn this elbow up, take the cap, slide that in, and then take the cover, close that down, and make sure my hose line is covered there, and then we can go ahead and put the hose away, take off the elbow piece from the sewer connection, and then take your hoses and scrunch them down and put it into the unit. Then I leave my gloves right here. Close it down. My black hose, flushing tank, also goes with these hoses. Close that up, and I store it in the third compartment. I also have the supports that I can go ahead, put it back in the box. It's getting a little wet, so it might start falling apart. Have to come up with some kind of way to store that better. That's my sewer connections disconnected. Next, I'm going to move forward to the freshwater lines. One thing I do is I like to make sure the freshwater tank is full, so that on the road, if we need water, we have it. We can use the toilets, we can use the sinks. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect this here. Take the hose off. Now, after I take the hose off, I usually will drag the hose to the freshwater tank, which I'll show you in a second. Again, we're not needing to do that now, but I'll at least show you where the hose goes. So taking the hose off, don't let it touch the ground. I will drag it to the other side of the unit where the water fill is. So if you want to just follow along. So at the back of the passenger side, this is our fresh water. Stick the hose in there. Remember, I'm still connected to the water supply with my filter, so I will go ahead and fill up this tank, getting fresh clean water through the filter. Once that's full, then I'll go ahead and disconnect the hose and filter from the supply line. Here goes my storage bin. I'm going to go ahead and throw my regulator in here. I have my 4-way connector. Throw that in here. Now I'm going to take my clean water hose. I'm going to disconnect the hose. Let it drain out. I have a cap here, nice and clean. Put that back on. And I throw it into my bin. Again, I like to try to keep this hose nice and clean. Not always the easiest task, but I try. What I normally do is just screw both ends together and keep them from dragging all over the place. I have a little bungee cord here as well, kind of keep it together. It's not a perfect system, but it'll help things fit in better. So I have the hose, I have my filter, pressure regulator, my 4-way waters. Now I would start the breaker off at the campsite. Want to unscrew the connection. Here's my electrical line. I want to disconnect it from the surge protector. Go ahead and throw the surge protector into the bin. Take the power line. We'll go ahead and throw that in here as well. Have my gas line. We'll go ahead and throw that in here. Tether for the dog. Try to keep everything nicely neat inside the unit, and I keep it in one spot so that if I ever need it, it's always there. Have the cable connection. Close all these doors. Throw that in there. Then this hose, like I said, it's just for campsite clean down. If I need to wash down tables, if I need to wash down the grill, that's what this hose is for. When I'm all said and done, I throw it in here. I usually take care of this maintenance, but this is a rubber seal treatment for the slide. I usually spray it once a month or whenever it's being used, just to make sure that that seal is being protected and taken care of. I keep that in there. And then this is a cover for the electric line if you need it. And then lastly, our mosquito lights. Go ahead and put the cover on. And voila. Okay, so now we're going to do the final breakdown to make sure everything's good to go, so we can hit the road. First thing I'm going to do is just hit the retract button on the slide. Make sure it's fully closed. Okay. I already checked the bathroom vent. I'm going to go ahead and make sure this vent here is closed all the way. So we're good there. Going to make sure the awning outside is closed. So I retract it all the way. Go ahead and turn the light off. Want to make sure the step is closing. Step closed. We're going to make sure the antenna is in its locked position, so we rotate so it doesn't rotate anymore. And we're closed there. We already verified that the bed is sitting on the pins. We discussed that earlier, so we're good there. Next, I'm going to rotate the chairs into the driving position. Do the driver's seat as well. We're good there. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the shades open. Wrap around and attach the Velcro. Both passenger and driver side. Alright, so now we have the last thing to do is pull up the levelers. To do that, engine needs to be on. We're going to go over here to the control, hit the power up button on, and now we're going to hit retract. Once it's finished retracting, it'll say ready, all jacks up. Ready, jacks up, so we're good there. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. And we're going to go ahead and lift up the shade. And we are now road ready. Okay, so just again, final walkthrough. Jacks are up, shades are open, side curtains are in place, upper bed is sitting on its pins. I have my vents closed and my antenna in its locked position. Make sure my awning is in. Make sure my step is closing. No water connections, or all the compartments down below are closed. And we're ready to hit the road.